Hi, Tees. Thank you for joining today's show, which is going to be all about pork cutlet, deep fried pork cutlet goodness. So, we're actually going to be doing the miniature version of this dish, which was inspired by a new show that I've been absolutely obsessed with lately, which is Singles Inferno Season 2, coming on Netflix. I actually did watch Season 1, the Netflix series, and obviously, I followed all the unfortunate scandal that ensued. Caution with the video ahead, we're going to be looking at spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, pause this video and move on to Netflix first and then join us with the conversation. Now, whilst we're talking about the show, obviously we'll be cooking pork cutlet, which was enjoyed by some of the contestants, which we're going to be introducing later on. I would like to preface that, I'm not familiar with the Korean language and therefore my pronunciation will definitely be lackluster, so bear with me with that. Now, the premise of the show puts single contestants on a beach called Inferno, where they really have basic bare necessities. Obviously, their living quarters, they've got the beach, the sand, the good weather sometimes, and then as well as gorgeous water, the sea, obviously, for them. But then they've also got eating quarters and place where they can look after their hygiene. So it's really bare minimum, a few date spots, but that's pretty much it. But then, they're looking to match up, meet the one who they could feel any connection with, possibly, and then go to paradise with that individual. When in paradise, they get to know each other a little bit better in a more intimate and luxurious environment where they get that partner all to themselves. Now, if we look at the initial contestants, shall we? We first have Choi Se-eun, a 28-year-old former Miss Korea. So actually, she won in 2021, and she graduated from Pratt Institute with a specialization in painting. So she's pretty much an artist. And the other artist is Shin Silky, 25-year-old pianist, one of my favorite characters. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. Then we move on to Shin Dong-woo. He's actually a 32-year-old plastic surgeon that has also won contests. So I think he came as a runner-up to beauty contests. Then you've got Jo Young-jae, who is also a 32-year-old finance manager. It's quite interesting because he did match up with someone to go to paradise, and that person did say that the job fit the personality, which is quite interesting. I'll let you discover who he did match up with. I'm not going to disclose that. Then we move on to the secret, Lee Nadine, who we get to discover that actually she's 23-year-old Harvard pre-med student majoring in neuroscience, very ambitious, wants to become a surgeon. Now moving on to Park Se-jun, fitness enthusiast, very vivacious in terms of her personality. I'm looking forward to discover more about her. Then we move on to Choi Jung-woo. He's been actually great with sort of his persistence, being interested in the same person, and he's a former athlete with a passion for soccer. Move on to Lee So-hee, 23 years old student with an acting major and a passion for dancing. She has great personality from what she's shown on screen, and I'll tell you more about it and sort of who some of those faves of mine were. Then we move on to Kim Han-bin, 24-year-old award-winning chef with a cheerful personality. And obviously, he took over the kitchen as soon as they arrived in Inferno. So you get to know a bit more about him. He's been really great as well. We then had new arrivals. So those new arrivals, we have the one and only contestant who threw a real spanner in the works, guys, and that is Kim Jin-Young. He's a former soldier for the Korean Navy Special Forces, and he also runs a YouTube channel on military content, so do have a look at his channel. He definitely shook a few of the ladies who were participating. Then we have newer contestants. So just as a preface, I'm on episode 6. Therefore, I don't know much yet about Ling Min-soo, who's a 26-year-old model, and she also has an online clothing store. And Kim Se-jun, who's a 27-year-old tailor. He actually works in the same shop as one of the contestants from season 1 or JIN-YOUNG. So that's quite interesting. I'd love to know more about this. So now, I know I promised you a pork cutlet video. By now you're wondering, what has she been going on about? There is still no food in sight. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into the food. Let's talk a bit more about some of the standout contestants, you know, from my perspective. Obviously, this is my opinion, and you know, you're free to disagree. And I would actually like to start a discourse about it. First of all, let's talk about the show, because the show itself, to me, stands out from other dating shows that I've been watching on Netflix, such as Too Hot to Handle, or even The Ultimatum, or Love is Blind, for example. So I think a lot of these connections are made quite quickly, gets passionate, if I can use that word to describe, hopefully you understand. But it's quite nice to see a show where people take their time and are a bit more reserved in their displays of affection, and it's a bit more subtle. And there is something really unnerving and sort of that cliffhanger when you're just sitting there, a bit like a Korean drama. You see what I mean? You're living your best Korean drama life. Let's face it, guys. That's why we all watch Singles Inferno. There are a few standouts in terms of characters. I would say first, Shin Sulky. I mean, do I even need to say anything? So Sulky and her dynamic with Kim Jin-Young, who only came into the show a little bit later on, made a fabulous entrance, by the way. You could smell that confidence. We all did. Their chemistry pierced through the screen. It did. I think it really communicated to a lot of people. No one could ignore it. It was so obvious. I mean, a pianist and an ex-soldier. What a combo. Even a freaking Korean drama couldn't have done better. Or maybe they've already done it and I haven't seen it. But it was literally out of our dream fictional, you know, story. So that was very nice to see Sulky open up when she hadn't opened up with the previous person that she had partnered up and went to paradise, which I thought was fantastic. The next standout to me is Zoe. I remember her as someone who's really good at communicating her emotions. I thought that was a great example for myself to see, and hopefully for other people to see, like how you can express more than two emotions. A lot of the time on TV, Netflix, whatever, we see anger and people shutting down. This time, seeing someone being able to express their sadness, feeling ignored or feeling uncomfortable, but still being able to sort of face it while still taking care of the other's feeling. I thought that was such a positive message and a positive model to see. And so, yeah, that's something I really wanted to highlight. Last but not least, obviously, I mean, Nadine's ambition could be felt through the screen once again. While she exchanged with Shin Dong-woo, that was absolutely mental. You could see how excited she was about what she was studying, how excited she was about her future. 3 standouts I really wanted to communicate, and so these are going to be my final points. Just let me know what you think about the series. Who are your favorite characters and why would that be the case? Any pairing that you're supporting? Any pairing that you don't want to see on screen? I think it'd be interesting to have a discourse in the comments. Obviously, we came here to talk about food as well. Have a go at the recipe and let me know. It can be miniature or life size. It's all your choice. Thank you for your time. If you enjoyed it, subscribe for more. Feel free to suggest new series that you'd be interested in me covering. Obviously, I'll give you an update on Singles Inferno. All the contestants were fantastic. I mean, the cast is absolutely mind-blowing, but I did want to highlight some of these people, which I thought brought something to the overall show, and it really gave me moments where I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, what is going on? So yeah, thank you for joining me today, and I will see you next time, Itzies. Bye. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed it.